All right, so as you can see, we got the tier list here. So we got all the players down at the bottom right here listed, as well as the undrafted free agents. So I'm going to put a grade for them. Now, it's pretty self-explanatory. You got your grades on the left there, F, D, C, B, A. Look, we've all been through school, so we all know how it works. If they were superstars, A. If they did pretty good, B. If they were serviceable, did some things, C. D, did some things, but pretty much not good enough. And F, just a complete fail, bust. So what say you, Auntie? Should we get right into it?
Get right into it, brother. It's going to be real fun.
Very sad state of affairs. So
that it is.
Start off with old mate here, Henry Ruggs. I'm going to zoom in. Henry Ruggs, we took round 1, pick 12. Now, I'm just going to read out some stats real quick. Give me a moment. So he was on our roster for 2 seasons. He was actually looking pretty good early days in that 2021 season. I mean, he played a total of 22 games, had himself 921 yards, 4 TDs. He showed some promise in his rookie season, but his second season with us, he was really coming on, and it looked like he was repaying the faith for us as an organization. John Gruden and Mark Mayock, our coach and general manager at the time, taking him with that pick over the likes of Jerry Jeudy and CeeDee Lamb, who were the other highly touted wide receivers in that year's draft class. As we know, he had that car accident where he was speeding down the highway or freeway. And I don't want to get too much into it, but we all know what happened. It ended up costing a lady and her dog their lives. And he's now serving some prison time. Very, very disappointing to say the least. And rest in peace to the lady and the dog that lost their lives. Very, very unfortunate that they had to pay the ultimate price for his mistake. One mistake was enough to change a lot of lives. And yeah, most definitely him. What say you about Henry Ruggs? Got any thoughts before we put him up here?
Well, Henry Ruggs, man, at the moment when we drafted him, I didn't want him. To be honest, I want to see Lee Lamb. But going into his second season, he was showing everything it took to be a number 1 receiver. You know what I mean? He was just on that cusp as just to being a superstar. You know what I mean? And it just got cut short, man. You know what I mean? He had all the potential in the world to be a great receiver, man, but it just cut short, man. It's just sad to see. It's really, really sad.
And I agree with this comment here. I give Ruggs a C-. He's an A for talent, but the tragedy is the reason he's not with us anymore. His recklessness is the reason his career looks over. That, and I think first and foremost, a person and a dog lost their lives. I think that's the most important thing that came out of that. A very tragic thing to happen, losing their lives, paying the ultimate price. Look, I'm going to go on value. Talent-wise, he was showing up. And if it had kept trending, it could have been an A, B+ kind of pick. But the fact that we chose him early and what happened, and that he's no longer on our roster after 1.5 seasons, I'm going to have to put him down here, D+. And I'm almost tempted to put him lower. What say you, Auntie? You think that's
what I was. That's what I was thinking, like D+, C- area. That's what I was thinking, that, to be honest, too.
Yeah. What could have and what should have been a stellar career, what could have taken our offense to the next level and looked like it was. Unfortunately, one mistake was enough to change everything. And I hope that a lot of players learn from that, if there's going to be anything positive coming out of that. Unfortunately, though, one player in particular didn't learn from how off the field indiscretions can affect a player's career, and that's our next man. Or I put that very, very lightly in quotation mark, man. Damon Arnett, cornerback from Ohio State. We took round 1, pick 19. Now, I'm going to read out his stats for us real quick before I shoot off on old
What's
friend Damon Arnett. Yeah, stats, right? Played 13 games, 3 pass deflections, 3. 29 combined tackles. That's because he's tackling people who burnt him to a crisp.
Yeah.
6 assists, tackles, and 1 tackle for a loss. There's very few people who we've had on our roster where I can say that I hate and despise with a passion. Damon Arnett is definitely one of those guys. I absolutely loathe that guy. He's a piece of shit. I didn't like the draft pick then when we picked him. It's really damning that the coaching staff, Mike Mayock, came out and said we'd never done as much homework on a player as we did for Damon Arnett in terms of doing their homework for his off-the-field attitude and that. He couldn't put it together on the field. Signs were semi-positive. I remember in the first few games, it seemed like he was trying to listen in on Gruden and grasp as much as he could. But, I mean, you remember that video where he did an IG live, and this is coming off the Henry Ruggs situation, mind you. He got on video and he's pulling out guns. I'm a real deal kill you, bro. I'm going to kill you, bro. I mean, are you fucking stupid or what? You know what I mean? And there was a litany of other stories that came out about Damon Arnett, about his off-the-field behavior. And it seemed like he was too busy focused on his rap career. I hated that guy, and I hate him more now. Absolutely despise him. We like to say once a Raider, always a Raider, but for me, it really pains me to say that, and I don't think he's deserving of that saying. What say you about Mr. Damon Arnett?
No, the biggest issue I have is with Mike Mayock and John Gruden, because as an organization, you said this is a player that you've done the most homework in, and I remember hearing an interview a while back, and him saying that Damon Arnett had incidents at Ohio State, numerous incidents that were brushed under the rug just because he was at Ohio State, that the Raiders knew about and still took a chance on him. And actually, the player there was another cornerback they wanted that went a couple picks ahead called A.G. Terrell from Clemson. That's the cornerback they actually wanted instead of Damon Arnett. But instead of going up there and getting the player they wanted, they just stayed pat. But think about this. We took Damon Arnett at 19.
Oh,
Three picks later, Justin Jefferson went to the Vikings. Imagine if we had Justin Jefferson next to Devontae Adams right now. Just think about that one, guys. Just think about that one right now. A pick after Justin Jefferson. Who did the Chargers trade up and get? Kenneth Murray, the middle linebacker from Oklahoma. What's the issue right now with the Raiders? Coverage linebackers, right? We have a problem with the number 2 receiver, right? 2 picks later, the 49ers drafted Brandon Ayuk. Look at how's he looking right now with the 49ers. You know what I mean? And this is another linebacker that I wanted the Raiders to draft. Patrick Queen, the Ravens traded up from the second round all the way up to the 28th pick to trade up and get Patrick Queen. And he can cover, he can stop the run, he can cover sideline to sideline. But yet, we took Damon Arnett with all his red flags and everything. That's what that pisses me off. Literally, look at all this talent that I just named off right now. We could have had any of these players, but no. That's the kind of stupid
Damon friggin' Arnett.
And this is the thing is, everybody knows you build your team through the draft. You have to hit on your draft picks. You can't be taking chances. You know what I mean? Especially when you're the Raiders and you haven't hit on your lately on any of your first round draft picks. We haven't at all.
There's another name. Trevon Diggs.
Trevon Diggs too. You know what I mean? There was a bunch of players we could have had. But I'm just saying those are the ones in the first round that we could have had. You know what I mean? But it just sucks. It really sucks that we could have had, you know what I mean, somebody else playing at Pro Bowl level right now. But yeah, we had David.
There's another name. Huh. God.
Yeah, that too. Jalen Hurts was in the second round. That too. It just sucks. We could have had all these players, but yet, you know what I mean? It just stupid to me how there was red flags. You know what I mean? And I understand we needed a cornerback, but you don't never reach for somebody. You know what I mean? You take the best player available on the board. You know what I mean? That's what I love about Dave Ziegler. You know what I mean? He did an interview earlier in the year about the draft and stuff. He was like, you know what I mean? I may have needs, but I'm always going to go with best player available. You know what I mean? And that's what you're supposed to do in the draft. You know what I mean? You may not need this wide receiver right now, but you know what I mean? He might be, you know, he might help you down the line or something. But at the end of the day, man, we can only say what ifs.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Circus Raider, that's a very good comment. Mayo's credibility was annihilated with that Arnett pick. It was, and what I believe that wasn't so much a Mayock pick. I personally believe it was more Gruden, but we'll never know. It just kills me before I put out my grade that just about every single fan's reaction was like, what the fuck? After the draft process. I mean, we're on the couch and we could see the litany of red flags, the fact that he wasn't really that great and productive in college, and he wasn't even the best cornerback on his team. That was the other guy, the other cat who went to Detroit, I believe.
Yeah, Okoye or whatever his name is.
I forgot. Yeah, he was a cornerback. I forgot his name. But just the fact that, I mean, we're on the couch and we could all see, like, there's no way you should draft him there. We took him anyway. It turned out to be as dog shit, probably more dog shit than what we expected. This one's an easy one. I'm going to pull down the comment, and if I could have a Z tier, I would. He goes here. Straight trash. And just another one of these
on my scale. He's not even on my scale, Afakasi. I don't even want to think about it. I don't even want to look at it as. Holy shit, dude. What a waste of talent, God-given talent. Because he had all the talent in the world, but he never wanted to put in the work. He was too busy trying to be a thug and a rapper. You know what I mean? And the thing is, you know how many players or people would have been killed to have the opportunity he had? You know what I mean? He just threw it away.
I don't even know if he's in the league anymore.
He's not. He was on the Dolphins practice squad, and he got cut. And then he got picked up by the Chiefs, and then he got cut, and he's not in the league right now. So,
dog shit. Absolute dog shit. We'll move on from Arnett to our next pick. Our next pick is
this guy too.
Round 3. It was actually pick 80. I messed up here. It says pick 60, but it was pick 80. Yeah. We went he was a quarterback, but we tried to switch him to running back. Another project pick. And that is the curious case of Lynn Bowden from out of Kentucky. Now, we brought him in. We tried to transition him over as a running back or as a gadget kind of player, project pick. And the guy didn't even make it to preseason. Absolute dog shit. We got rid of him. And yeah, another player where the less said, the better. I mean, I think he's still floating around the league. He had a bit to say about the Raiders organization when he went over to the Dolphins. But yeah, another project pick that once again just flames out in emphatic fashion. What say you about Lynn Bowden?
What a fucking stupid motherfucking pick, brother. This is the thing is, this guy played quarterback at Kentucky, right? And what does Gruden decide to do with him? Let's make him a motherfucking running back. You know what I mean? What the fuck are you thinking, bro? Especially, too, you know, we got Josh Jacobs back there, too. Like, you don't need another running back. You know what I mean? I understand you were trying to make him your gadget player and stuff, but you don't waste a pick like that in the third round on a gadget player that's not going to see the field. You know what I mean? There was other offensive linemen we could have had. You know what I mean? There's another receivers we could have had. We could have had somebody else instead of this pick. It was just a waste. And the worst thing about it, he didn't even make the final 53-man roster. We cut him before then. Like,
he didn't even make preseason.
Yeah.
Didn't even make preseason. This one's an easy one. Lynn Bowden down there. Absolute garbage.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Ridiculous. Another project pick. We try to do this, that, and the other, and just doesn't pan out for us. And the fact he didn't even make preseason, I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Yeah. Fucking embarrassing, though.
That is embarrassing. with the next pick, though, we're going to move on. The very next pick, round 3, pick 81, we selected Brian Edwards out of South Carolina, wide receiver. I'm just going to read out his stats real quick. Not the stats when he moved on from us, but the stats specifically when he was a Raider. I don't care what he's done since then. This is just grading out players and their time when he was with us. Yeah. So in the 2 seasons he was with us, in his first year, he had 11 receptions and 193 yards. Did he have any touchdowns? No, he didn't in his first year. His second year, he had 59 targets, 34 receptions, and 571 total yards. I think no touchdowns. Oh, that's right. He had a touchdown which got called back in that first game, if you remember. Then we threw it to Zay Jones and got the win against the Ravens, I believe, in our season opener.
Yeah, sure.
Well, look, Brian Edwards, I mean, he flashed at times. His stats are not too bad in that second season. We ended up trading him off to the Falcons, him and a 7th rounder for a 5th round pick next year. Brian Edwards, there were times when he flashed that he could be the guy as that number 2 receiver, and then there was just too many times when he just went missing. It was either dropping balls or just wasn't contributing, and the Raiders were happy to trade him off, get some value while we could this offseason, which was a good thing. And he went to the Falcons, and he hadn't really done much with them. I think he only had 4 or 5 catches, and now I just had a look. He's now on the Chiefs team. So Brian Edwards, there were times when he flashed, like I said, but just too often was inconsistent. Auntie, want to share your thoughts?
Him coming out of South Carolina, he broke all the receiving records and stuff. And there's been some good receivers that come out of South Carolina. You know what I mean? He was supposed to go in the first round, but he had injuries. You know what I mean? That's why he was there in the 3rd round. You know what I mean? I thought him and Ruggs were going to be our next great young wide receiver duo for years to come. You know what I mean? You had the speedster and Ruggs, you had the possession receiver and Edwards, but it didn't turn out like that. You know what I mean? And especially too, I gave it up for Dave Ziegler for trading him away and actually getting something in return. You know what I mean? Because at the end of the day, the Falcons just cut him for nothing. You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, we got something for him. You know, I wish him all the best, but you know, not with the Chiefs though.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like I said, there were times he flashed, but just not enough. And the fact that he didn't do anything to the team that we traded him to definitely validates that trade. I had high hopes for Edwards. He had some pretty good tape coming out of college against some of the elite cornerbacks from that class. Just unfortunate he wasn't able to put it together more consistently. I personally am going to give him. I'm going to put him here. What say you, Auntie? You agree with that? See?
Yeah, actually, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
I'm almost tempted to put him here, but just because he did provide some value,
yeah,
I'm going to be nice about it. I'll give him a C grade, but it could be low. I could almost put him here. I'm almost tempted to put him here, but for a little while, he did some things. So I'll be generous to Mr. Edwards and put him there just because we picked him in the round 3 and he was able to give us some burn at least for some time. Oh boy. We had another 3rd round pick that year that we selected out of Clemson, and that is Tanner Muse, who was a safety, but we tried to transition him over to linebacker. Another project pick once again, and surprise, surprise, it doesn't pan out. Who would have thought? Tanner Muse, we had him, we picked him up, and he was, what did Gruden say? He was a special teams war daddy, so to say. I think if memory serves me correctly, he played in the preseason in 2020, didn't make the final roster, or he was injured. It was actually Javin White, a UDFA from that year, that actually made more progress and showed the coaching staff more production and more in practice to keep a roster spot. Tanner Muse was able to stick around. I believe it was till 2021. We released him on his birthday. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
Before
before
preseason started, the Raiders, the team who's in charge of their PR or internet relations, whatever, put out a post on the day of his birthday, happy birthday to Tanner Muse, and that was the same day they released him. Happy birthday, Tanner Muse. Here's your pink slip.
Right.
What say you about Mr. Muse, Ont6?
I mean, the funniest thing that I remember about Tanner Muse, I remember his rookie year. The first depth chart came out in the preseason, right? And he was labeled the fucking the starting middle linebacker, and everybody, oh yes, we finally found our middle linebacker and shit. Here it is. And sure enough, what happened, guys? Fucking bust. It just trips me out too, guys. Like, if you want a linebacker, you draft a linebacker. If you want a cornerback, you draft a cornerback. You don't draft a wide receiver and try to make him a cornerback. You don't draft a safety trying to make him a linebacker. The same thing we're doing with Diablo. You know, he was a safety, and now we're trying to make him a linebacker. It don't work, guys. You know what I mean? You want a certain position, you draft that position, and you just leave him there, and that's it. You know what I mean? That's not hard.
Can we just draft a linebacker who plays linebacker? Such a simple concept that the Raiders just don't seem to understand.
Imagine that.
Oh boy.
But hopefully that's one thing I do like from Diegler this year. You know what I mean? He didn't draft no project players or I'm gonna move this guy over here. You know what I mean? No, just let him play the position they're gonna play, and that's it.
Look, I don't mind project picks as long as it's not like the first 3 rounds. I mean, we just done that too often in the last 10 years or in my time as a fan. I mean, do I need to name names? No, I don't. We all know who I'm talking about. It just never pans out, and I'm sick of it. I'm over it. Salute to you, Pyro. Good to see you in the chat feed. This one's another easy one, unfortunately. Tanner Muse, F. Straight up fail. Oh, boy. All right, well.
This is like horrible, bro.
It's horrible. I mean, look at that. Terrible.
Yeesh.
And none of these players that we've graded so far are on our roster anymore.
That's the worst part about it.
Didn't even make 2 seasons, which is absolutely ridiculous.
For real.
All right. Well, we're going to move on to the guys pretty much responsible for us doing this live now rather than at the end of the season. And that's with our round 4 pick, 109. We took a guard out of Clemson. We seem to have an affinity for these Clemson players, especially when Mayock was in charge. And that is Josh Simpson. Now, he was able to maintain his roster spot for the last 3 years. He was a guy we were putting in and out as a rotational guard, a backup, until he hopefully developed. I thought maybe this season was the season where he was hopefully able to put it together. I mean, 3 years is ideally when you really want to be coming into your own. Unfortunately for Simpson, he was never able to solidify that guard role. We plugged him in last week against the Rams when Bars went down with injury, and the job he did was enough for the coaching staff to say, you know what, we're done. Here's your pink slip. See you later. Thank you. Goodbye. Got anything to say about Simpson, Auntie?
I really liked Simpson coming out of Clemson because to me he reminded me of a young Gabe Jackson. You know what I mean? He had the little mean nasty streak with the run. You know what I mean? That's what he reminded me of in college. You know, but I don't know what the hell happened when he came to NFL. It never clicked with him. He never want to put in the work. I don't know what happened, but it just sucks, brother, that he had to go out like that. But at the end of the day, if you're not producing, I got to get someone in here that can. So at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It is what it is.
It is what it is. And Ozzy, look at all those names. Just crazy. And they're all in positions of need.
Yeah.
Christ.
All of them he could have had. Every single one of those he could have had.
All right. Well, look. Josh Simpson was able to maintain a roster spot up until now, so that's almost 3 seasons. At times, he was a below average rotational guard to come in. Couldn't develop as anything more than that. Had a pretty poor performance when his number got called last week. Josh Simpson, oh God, where do we go with him? Do we go C- for that?
Yeah, just because
we got there, or do we go D+? What say you, chat? Circus thinks it's a D. Seabass says C-. What do you think, Auntie? C- or D+?
I say C- because he was on this roster longer than anybody else that has been. You know what I mean? More than Edwards and stuff. So I just give him a C-, even though he didn't contribute. You know what I mean? Just give him.
Nice to you, Mr. Simpson. Oh God, I'm so tempted to put him in D.
Well, just put him in the D, because he played horrible.
D. Sorry, Simpson. Simpson.
Simpson.
Yeah, D+. Oh God, crazy.
It just trips me out. I just heard a stat. I don't know where it was earlier today, but once John Simpson came in and started playing for us against the Rams, our running game went average yard less per run. So just think about that. Yeah. So John Simpson was averaging like 4.5, and then when John Simpson came in, he was averaging only 5. So you know what I mean?
Yeah, crazy. I can't give him an F because, I mean, we picked him in what round 4, pick 109, and he was able to stick around. And there were times when he was able to plug in and do some things. So he did provide some value, but not enough. So D+, I think, is a good area for him. Simpson, Burns' voice. Yeah, you get the reference. Yeah, unfortunate for Josh Simpson, no longer a Raider. Rafael El Capitan, salute to you. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you, my friend. Como esta? All right. Now, all these players, none of them are on our roster, and that's not even 3 seasons deep. Our next pick, though, who would have thought? The curious case of Amik Robertson, pick number 139, round 4, out of Louisiana Tech. Now, this is a guy who he got pretty burnt toast when he did see the field in his first 2 seasons, apart from that one game against the Chargers where he showed up and actually shut, I think was it Williams down or Keenan Allen? Somebody. He did have a good game. Me and you, Auntie, we were actually singing for him to be gone when we were doing our preseason final roster cuts or keeps. We thought he was gone. Say la vie. But the coaching staff saw enough in him to keep him. And you know what? He's proven me wrong. He's actually done some things this year. He's been okay in coverage. He's done some things like that forced fumble, taken it to the house. That was good to see. Has he had any interceptions yet? I'm gonna have a look at his stats.
I don't think he has.
Give me mine. So yeah, he has had 1 INT against the Cardinals. Okay. So he has made some splash plays this year, which definitely bumps up his grade. Amik Robertson, for me personally, as if we would give out most improved player award this year, he would be one of the names, if not the person I would give it to. It's been good to see from Amik. He's putting it together and being able to be a decent role player, so to say. He's pretty good in the run game, as well as like sometimes you see him coming off the edge and providing pressure. When we've had a lot of our secondary players going down to injury, he's been able to come in and be the constant, and he's been decent enough for us. So the last man standing from this draft class. Who would have thought it? And been able to save this draft class from being a complete disaster. It's not a disaster so far, but yeah, Amik Robertson. What say you before I put him in the tier list, Auntie?
I mean, Amik Robertson in college was no joke. He was lined up against other teams. The number 1 receiver at his height. I think his senior year, he had like 8 interceptions or something. It was ridiculous. You know what I mean? The only thing that's stopping him was just his height, and that's what everybody was scared about. You know what I mean? And the Raiders took a chance on him, and I'm glad they did, because if it wasn't for him being on the team and stepping up in certain games, you know, we would have lost him. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind having him back another year in the system just to see what he can do. Just have him as a backup piece. You know what I mean? Just because there's another game and we are going to need more players from the secondary.
For sure. And, what he lacks in height
Mix up
and size, he makes up for with this heart, grit, and, the fact that he's working on he's constantly working to try and get better. So right away, absolutely. Amik plays with heart. He's not a star player, so to say. So I can't give him an A grade. And there have been times, especially in those first 2 seasons, where he was pretty vulnerable. I was actually thinking that he should have been gone in preseason. I'm wrong. I was wrong. So were you, Ont6. A few of us were on that same train of thought. But he's been able to work hard and make a believer out of me. So shout out to him. I'm going to put him in this. I was looking at B-. What say you, Ont6 and chat? What do you think we should put Meek?
I was thinking B-, C+. You know what I mean? That's what I was there. I was thinking more C+ because the B's and the A's are more for like superstar players. You know what I mean? But he's he's a good role player. That you know what I mean. And so I would say like C+.
I'm going to put him in. I'm going to be nice. My personal opinion, I would put him B-, scraping into that B- tier, being that we took him round 4. He's a sustainable. He's starting at that nickel spot, if I believe correctly, and the fact that we've got someone who's being able to solidify a role on our team in round 4. He hasn't been a star player, so to say, but the fact that he's been able to make splash plays this year and make the most of his opportunities and still be here and contributing, I think B- is a fair range for Mr. Amik Robertson. What say you, Auntie?
That sounds about right.
Yeah. Milk a Beezy. Amik proved me wrong this season. I said he was going to make the 53-man roster, but he did. He wasn't going to make the 53-man roster, but he did. Got to give him credit. Yeah, many of us thought the same thing. And we're saying it on the lives before the season. I think Dirty Raider was the most vocal supporter of Amik Robertson. Shout out to him. And lucky for us, he proved to be right, and we proved to be wrong. So, again, I'm always happy to be wrong about these things that turn out for the best for us. I'm not one of these YouTubers that likes to come out and say, "Oh, I told you so," when something doesn't work out that I might have believed or said so. Just for that fact, no, I don't. I'd rather players, coaches, or whatever prove me wrong and show up on the field for us. So shout out to Mr. Amik Robertson. I'm just going to read this comment about Josh Jacobs. I was wrong about Jacobs. Me too. I didn't think he could stay healthy, and McDaniels may prove me right. Yeah, well, look, a lot of us, Jacobs was an afterthought coming into the season. The fact that he was playing game time in that Hall of Fame game, that for me spoke volumes in terms of the new coaching staff and management's belief and faith in Jacobs. But look, he's been playing at an elite level, and he's definitely going to get his bag somehow, some way, and has managed to make believers out of all of us doubters that believe that he could be the guy, and he most definitely is that, and then some. But we're going to get back to this. So that was the draft class here. I'm just going to maximize it so everyone can see it. But it's not finished yet. I also wanted to grade out the UDFA draft class as a whole. Now, there were only 2 names that were really able to really stand out from the class and, if you could say, contribute or make some noise. And that was, I'm not even going to bother reading the names of the other guys that we picked up in that UDFA class. But the guys that were most prominent for us was, I'm going to zoom in, Javin White and Nick Bowers. So Javin White, the safety, transitioned to linebacker out of UNLV, Las Vegas. And Nick Bowers, we tried to develop him as a tight end, was able to hang around for a little bit, but never really put it together so much, so to say. So the fact that the year before, we actually got quite a bounty of UDFAs that were able to contribute. Guys like AJ Cole, Alec Ingold, Lester Cotton, Andre James was another one. Keyshawn Nixon, not on our roster, but he was able to contribute.
He was.
We got quite a few players out of that UDFA class, and for us to only get these two that were the best of the bunch. I mean, I like Javin White. He actually showed a lot of promise in preseason 2021 until he unfortunately got himself injured. I thought he was a lock to make the roster, but unfortunately that injury cut short his Raider career. And he went to the Jets for a little while, but I think he's now out of the league. Disappointing, but like for Javin White, it's fun. I actually listened to an interview with him before the season started, 2020, and he was there saying, "I'm not here to make friends. I'm here to take someone's roster spot." And he actually did that. He took the guy that we hoped Tanner Muse would be. Javin White was showing more signs than Tanner Muse, and if Javin White didn't suffer that injury, I believed he was a lock. He made some good noise in that preseason 2020. Unfortunate, it didn't get the happy ending, but he was the most notable contributor from that UDFA class. Nick Bowers hung around for a little bit. I think we released him this offseason, out of Penn State, project guy, but couldn't see the field too often. I mean, I think he played 5 games for us as a contributor or as a role player, but never really did too much. So as a whole, how do you feel, Ont6, about the UDFAs?
F. Yeah, because the thing is, the class before they set the expectation so high that the next class didn't even do anything. So you know what I mean. I'll say it's an F for them too. You know what I mean. To be honest with you,
I mean, I noticed that a lot. Like in preseason, people tend to fall in love with these UDFAs and think and believe that they're going to do this and do that, and you just gotta see it for what it is. I mean, a lot of these guys, it's lucky for them to even make the practice squad, let alone anything more than a rotational guy. If we get any more burn out of that, then that's a big win. But the last couple of seasons since that 2019 class, we haven't really got much burn out of the undrafted free agents. The next year's UDFA class, I think DJ Turner's the only one who's stuck around too. And, he's a rotational role guy at best. So, I guess it's shown me and maybe a few others, like we shouldn't fall in love with these UDFAs and expect too much, because 99% of the time it's never really going to pan out. But as a whole, I'm probably going to put this I'll put this down here, D+, just for that. Javin White showed me some things and I thought he could have done something, but he didn't. So yeah, there's that. So there's our grades as a whole. I mean, Amik Robertson being the best of them, B-. Brian Edwards, a very, very generous C. I'm almost tempted to put him down here. Should we keep him there, Auntie? What do you think?
Yeah, I should just keep him there, brother. You know what I mean?
We'll keep him there. Henry Ruggs, unfortunate. D+, had all the potential in the world. Josh Simpson couldn't develop to be more than a coming off the bench guy to hopefully plug and play, and he wasn't able to make the most of his opportunities there. The UDFAs, Javin White, Nick Bowers, the best of the bunch. The rest of them is a bunch of who the fuck are they? You know what I mean? Where are they now? Most of them not even in the league. Why I didn't even bother bringing up the names. And then the F tier. Damon Arnett, Lynn Bowden, Tanner Muse. Easy ones, straight up Fs.
Facts.
I'm going to give my final grade. And if you want to give your final grades in the chat as well. Oh, God. It was a disaster draft class, to say the least. Mike Mayock's first time. Was it Mike Mayock's first time? Was it his second season?
No, it was his second season.
Yeah.
Because the year before that was Josh Jacobs and Cleve Farrell and them. This was the second draft class.
So he was part of that.
Yeah.
But very damning indeed, especially that Arnett pick, saying that we never done so much homework on a player as we did Mr. Arnett, and for it to flame out emphatically. And everybody saw that coming. Everybody saw that coming.
Facts.
I would give the draft class as a whole an F, but I mean, Robinson, and to a point, Brian Edwards saved it for me a little bit. I'm going to give it a generous and a very generous D. Almost D minus. It's probably teetering in this, in between D minus. What say you, Ont6?
For me, it's a D minus, to be honest with you, because the only bright spot was Amik Robinson. And that ain't really saying much, so it's a D minus for me.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, I'm gonna go with you. D minus. I mean, yeah, Meek saved the class from being an absolute disaster, but the fact that we flamed out so badly with these picks down here and Henry Ruggs as well, like, in my time as a Raider fan, I don't know a draft class that was worse. I mean, possibly 2012 when we didn't have a first round, second round pick, and we picked that offensive lineman in the third round, and then a bunch of others who didn't really do much, if anything at all.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
So 2012, it was Tony Bergstrom. That's it. We took Bergstrom from Utah that year, but we picked guys like Christo Bellacchini, James Crawford, a few other players. That wide receiver, I can't remember his name, out of Arizona. A bunch of guys who just didn't do nothing. But
yeah, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, dude.
This class here, I would say, would be worse because we did get first rounders, and for them to flame out so emphatically the way they did, yeah, I would go as far as to say the worst Raider draft class in my time as a fan, and possibly one of the worst draft classes ever.
Facts, and for me, it's more heartbreaking because I wasted like almost $500 on autographed rookie cards for all these players, and they all turned out to be bust. So that's even more heartbreaking. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, you know what I mean? It is what it is, brother. But hopefully, Dave Ziegler this year with all these draft picks, you know what I mean, and Justin McDaniels, I truly believe that he's going to do a better job drafting than Mayock and Gruden has.
It's not a high bar that's been set, is it?
It's not, but when you only have a third round pick and you draft Dylan Parham and he's looking like pretty good, you know what I mean? So you know what I mean? I can just imagine, you know what I mean? So we'll see. And the thing is too, they have their whole scouting staff had a whole year to whole draft. I mean, to scout the whole fucking college and to work together. You know what I mean? So I'm excited.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hope, and salute to you, Cool Kev. I see you in the building. Let this be a lesson for the coaching staff and management and scout team in terms of picking project players and off the field red flags. I mean, those things cannot go on unnoticed. And production. I mean, you got to look at that too, and just make it. You don't have to make the splash moves, but just the wise moves when it comes to the draft. Pick wisely, and maybe even, so to say, pick safely. I mean, the names that you listed before, they were the safe picks we could have gone instead of Damon Arnett. Instead, we went with Damon Arnett, and it's just so and it's these kind of draft classes that are setting us back years and killing us in the long run. I mean, look, we've only got one player left from this class. I mean, Robertson, a guy we took in the fourth round. You know what I mean?
You know what we should have done, Afakasi, too? We should have compared our draft classes to the Chargers, the Chiefs, and the Broncos. And see how many players still there. You know what I mean? I just want to know, because this is the thing is you both, most of your team through the draft is cheap labor. You know what I mean? So when you're not hitting on these draft picks and stuff, it just makes your team weaker and weaker. And you got to go to free agency, and you got to do this and other stuff. You know what I mean? Just to try to fill in the spot.
For sure. Right away. 100, the bar at ground. Honestly, I think none of us could do worse than that graph. Yeah, absolutely. And it goes back to what I said about Arnett. Everybody saw that coming. And even the next year when we drafted Alex Leatherwood, everybody saw that coming as a bad pick. And sure enough, it turned out to be that way. You know what I'm saying? We can't have this shit anymore. It's just not good enough.
And then the funniest shit that I remember about that, when we drafted fucking Leatherwood, Raider Scout had made a post about him saying that he can be an okay tackle or all pro guard. and we drafted him as a tackle. And I'm like, why the fuck did we draft him as a tackle if Raider Scout saying he can be an all-pro guard? And the funny thing about it now, he's over there with the Bears, and he's looking pretty good at left guard, and he's over there balling out. So I was like, well, I don't know, though. It's just,
is he balling out? From what I heard, he's not doing that great either.
From what Sanchez said, I asked him a question, and he said he's been pretty good. He's actually starting for them now, so I don't know.
Well, we're going to revisit that next year when we do this draft grading from the 21 class. I think it's good to come back to these after 3 seasons. I think that's really when you can. I don't like grading draft picks after the draft because you need to see how they pan out and before you can actually give them a final grade. And I think 3 seasons is enough of a body of work to be able to do that, which is why we did it now. I mean, I usually save this for after the season, but the fact that we released Josh Simpson, who was 1 or 2 men left standing, and Amik is the last man standing, and everyone else is not on our roster. Some of them not even in the league anymore.
Yeah.
Man, it's damning. But look, I'm going to go back to this comment here. Ziegler said himself in the 2022 draft was a rush job since they were focused on free agency. They did more in a few months than Gruden and Mayock did with a whole year for the 2020 draft. Yeah, I agree with that. Look, it's going to be very interesting, and we've got a bounty of draft picks coming up next year and the year after. So it's going to be very interesting to see the direction they go. Again, like I said, let this be a lesson that like just make the wise decisions. You don't have to go out of the frame, so to say, or try and hit that home run. Just make some wise, safe decisions when it comes to the draft and get us some starters, some contributors, some role players, and just value when it's there. You know what I mean? Rather than trying to, let's take this guy and turn him into that. And, this is going to be the ultimate I told you so moment because nobody else saw him on the radar and we're going to turn him into this and he's going to be that, this and that. And it just doesn't pan out. I'm over that shit. I really am. So hopefully in the next few years, it can be better.
No, I think it definitely is. I know there's only been 1 draft, and the funny thing about it, they didn't even have the whole year to scout the players, the college players and stuff. So just imagine them having a whole year to scout the whole college player, that the whole staff's gonna work together. All the draft picks that they have, even if we don't have a top 10 pick, doesn't mean we can't trade up to the top into the top 10 to get a player that we want, or we can trade back. Yeah. You know what I mean? We can do so many things in this draft, but it all comes down to ammunition. And more ammunition. The thing is, too, everybody won't start doing their mock drafts. We can't be doing no mock drafts yet because we don't know what players the Raiders are going to resign. Who are they going to cut? Who are we going to sign in free agency? There's so many things that go before the draft that we got to see and figure out. So it's going to be interesting last couple of games of the season. Hopefully the Raiders win, and because we still got a chance to make the playoffs, believe it or not. You know what I mean? All we got to do is win these last 4 games and have other teams lose. So anything is possible, man. After what happened last season, I'm not giving up hope until it's over. So we'll see what happens.
I agree with those sentiments. I understand a lot of people like to do that for fun, like to look forward to next year and do mock drafts and that. Me personally, I don't get into that, being that like the season's not over. Draft needs change on a dime when it comes to, especially after free agency, because we address a lot of those needs through the free agency, and that changes where our needs are for the roster, as well as players that leave in free agency. That is also another thing to take into consideration. I mean, we've got like Josh Jacobs as an example. He could possibly be gone by the season end, and where we've got a huge void at running back all of a sudden. You know what I mean? Trades as well. Look what happened last year or this year when a lot of people did their mock drafts of the round 1 and round 2. We didn't end up having one at the end of the day because we made a trade for Devontae Adams. So that just pretty much threw everybody's mock drafts out the window. You know what I'm saying? So I worry about that stuff post free agency when we have a firm grasp on, all right, this is what the team looks like now. Let's have a look at see where the needs are now that we've signed some players, we've lost some players, and now we truly understand where the holes in our roster are. So that's my personal opinions on that. Debo, salute to you. The first time I seen you in the chat feed. Thanks for pulling by. Need another coach. McD, too controlling and doesn't let his players play to their strengths. Look, I've been highly critical of McDaniels. I said what I said, and I stand by it. Although up until last game, he had been doing a better job when we won 3 straight. It wasn't a good performance from him and Graham from a coaching standpoint last week. But look, it looks like we're going to be rolling with them moving forward, and I'm just going to have to ride it out, see what happens. Again, it's a situation which I want to be proven wrong. I'm not sold on McDaniels. I'm not sold on Patrick Graham, Mr. Savior of our defense, which to me he hasn't proved yet. But look, we're just going to have to ride with him, and hopefully they can turn us into believers and turn the ship around, so to say. Webb deserves some blame for that TD, but Patrick Graham, the defense, in the best position to close out the Rams game. No, he didn't. He decided to play man press towards the end of the game. Yeah, cover 0. Yeah, bonehead call, and it just didn't work out. All right, well, look, that's the draft regrade and revisit done for now. I thought that was a bit of fun to do, something different to mix it up rather than, again, harping on about the game that was between the Rams and the Raiders. We've got the Patriots in, a week from now. It's a long break for us. I'm just going to put us up on the screen like this. On the positive side, it gives the players time to rest and try and regroup, as well as we could possibly see the return of either Renfro or Waller, or both. What say you about that?
I'm just hoping Waller quits rapping. You know what I mean? I'm tired of his music videos. I'm tired of his turf toe. You know what I mean? No, but I'm not seriously. You know what I mean? I hope both of them come back against the Patriots because it's going to give more for Big Belichick to worry about and game plan against. You know what I mean? Because the thing is, he hasn't seen them in a couple of weeks. There's not a lot of film with all of them on the field. So hopefully Josh McDaniels can draw up some plays for them or something. You know what I mean? Because me being a Raider fan, I haven't seen us beat the Patriots in like 10 years. It's been a long time, and I want this really bad because my brother's a Patriots fan, and I want to beat him. So hopefully we beat the Patriots.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully it's not a case of our season's done. I mean, we can hold it on by that thin razor, like that fishing line thread that we're holding on in terms of our season hopes. It's looking very, very bleak, but it's not all the way out of it yet. We got to take care of business, and as well as a whole bunch of other things got to happen. But 1 week at a time, let's see where we're at and let the cards fall where they may. Raider Twan, salute to you. Good to see you in the chat feed. I'm going to leave the StreamYard link there one last time. If anyone wants to pull up, give their 2 cents on the draft class from 2020 or opinions for the game. Otherwise, I might wrap things up and we'll catch up on the weekend and give a pregame for the Patriots once we get a better understanding of how our roster is shaking. Because, like I said, it could be that we get back Hunter Renfro and or Darren Waller. And for me personally, if we can get either one of those players back, if not both, and either come back and play to form, at the very least, give the defense something to think about. I mean, it's definitely going to take our offense to the next level. So I'm looking at it from the positive side of the ledger. Yeah, neither of them have turned out for us this year after getting their big contracts. And a lot of us are sour, especially on Waller. For the it seems like his motivation levels hasn't been there. A lot of people are questioning that. I think it's a little bit unfair, some of the criticism Renfro gets. I mean, for me personally, he has been a very good Raider for the last 3 years. And, he suffered a couple of concussions. And, he hasn't really been doing much with the game time he has had so far this year. But I think he deserves better in terms of our belief and faith in him. And I see there's a lot of potential for Renfro to come back to form as long as he's healthy. But Waller, I still ride with Waller. I hope to see him come back and repay that faith that I still have in him. And, comes back somewhat, even just a fraction of his best when he does come back healthy. Got any final thoughts on that, Auntie?
I mean, those aren't even the players I'm really worried about. The other 2 players that I'm worried about that we're going to need against the Patriots that got hurt in the last game was Rock Ya-Sin and Alex Bars on offense. You know what I mean? Because as soon as Alex Bars went out, man, that offense went bad. You know what I mean? And the thing is, I think that was like the third or fourth game we had the same starting offensive line. You know what I mean? So those guys were in rhythm. Everybody was knowing, what to do with each other. Everybody was in the flow. So you know what I mean? That's why I think getting him and Rock back are going to be real keys against the Patriots.
For sure. I'm going to read out this comment in a minute. I'm just going to go back to comment about Jacobs. That's another concern. I mean, Jacobs is getting pretty banged up now. I mean, he was still nursing that quad or hamstring injury, even going into that Rams game, and now he's injured. What was his thumb or finger? So I hope that the 10 days rest does him enough for him to come back and give us the burn that he has at that full running back position, because we haven't gotten much out of anybody else. It's just been Josh Jacobs, and he's been doing that fantastic. But we really need Josh Jacobs. We need him more than we originally thought we would before the season. But I'm looking at guys like Zamir White. So was it Zamir White?
Yeah, Zamir White.
Yeah, Zamir White. I saw him run a few plays last week. The first time he carried the ball, he did okay. And I noticed on the second time they gave him a carry, there was a lane wide open, and he just picked the wrong hole to run through, and he just ran right into our offensive lineman. And it's been some of the biggest criticism I've heard on the scene in regards to Zamir White, that his ball carrier vision still needs a lot of work. So, we're going to need more burn out of that running back spot outside of Josh Jacobs, because, he's been doing it alone so far, and he's been doing a fantastic job, but he's getting banged up now, and it's getting kind of scary. You know what I mean?
No, another thing is, too, I would like to see Brent Brown, get him a start and put him out there at least for a play or two to see what he got. Because Bolden hasn't even done anything for us. I don't even want him on this team anymore. You know what I mean? He's just been a waste of money. You know what I mean? He's another player that just stole money from us this offseason. You know what I mean? All this hype around this guy, and he hasn't done the goddamn thing. You know what I mean?
He ain't done shit. I remember all that hype in preseason.
Everybody was saying this shit. You know what I mean? I remember, I don't know who it was. It was Michael Guerrero that sent me film of him, a video of him from YouTube, all this dirt down plays and all this shit he can do. And then where was that I've been with the Raiders?
Amir Abdullah. I mean, he's at least doing something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for real. At least he's doing
something. Before I pull up our next guest. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No, I'm saying at least he's been doing something on special teams too. Go ahead.
Yeah. Before I bring up our next guest, just going to read out this comment by Circus Raider. Salute to you. Here's my final thoughts about the draft class. Garbage. We're still feeling the effects with how hollow our defense is at linebacker. Yeah, absolutely, 100%. Jeez. I mean, we just I think it was Ozzy listed a whole bunch of names that we could have drafted that year. If I could scroll up. I can't find it, but
Patrick Queen had Devin White, Patrick Queen,
here we go.
Keenan Murray. Yeah,
I think Devin White was, if I'm not mistaken, was from 2019, but he's a player we could have had instead of Clee Farrell. But the other names, Devin Bush, I'm not sure about him, but Patrick Queen and Kenneth Murray, I remember I was actually pretty high on both, either of those guys, and I wanted them to take them with that second first rounder we got, but shoulda, coulda, wouldas, and we didn't. Ridiculous. James Furpo, JJ will either be franchise tagged or signed to another team for bank. We all know what's coming. My opinion, we won't sign a running back for dollars. Yeah, well, it's definitely going to be something, a big point of interest in the offseason. He's going to get his bag somehow, some way. And for me personally, it's like, if we don't franchise tag him, are we going to be in the ballpark vicinity for him to want to stay with us? I know he wants to be a Raider, but can we afford to keep him? There's going to be a team that just comes out of left field and say, you know what, you could stay a Raider for yay amount, but we're going to give you B amount, which is too much of a bag for him to say no to. So for me personally, it's franchise tag or nothing at all.
But the thing is, too, the thing Josh Jacobs needs to think about it, too, he might go get the bag, but he might go behind the worst offensive line and the worst team, and he might be the only player. You know what I mean? Is he going to produce like he's producing now? That's the thing is, too, a lot of running backs and players leave their teams to go somewhere else and get paid, and they don't really produce. So, you know what I mean? At the end of the day, I think Josh Jacobs is going to get franchise tags and become a Raider, and we'll probably get rid of Waller, to be honest with you, or trade him away just to save that money, and we'll probably give it to Jacob. That would be the smartest thing
Well,
to do.
we could still make some moves to maybe free up some cap space so we could be in that ballpark vicinity. But for me personally, I don't think that matters if a team's going to pay you yay amount, like shit. Like for me personally, if a team came to me and just gave me a whole bunch of money that I'm not going to see in my lifetime, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I care, but like not so much. I care more for the money and taking care of my family, my children, my children's children, my children's children's children. But we're going to have to wait and see on that front. Yes, backstage. The king of the brown crackers, please welcome Raider Twan. Salute to you, brother. What's going on, dog?
Hey, how you guys doing? Blessings to everybody. You know what I'm saying? Blessings to everybody in the chat. I've had a very long day, so I'm not going to cam up, but you know what I'm saying? I came in to show some love.
Sure, Twan, I appreciate that.
Yeah. So
hope it's not too rough for you, my friend.
No, I'm just tired, fatigue. You know what I'm saying? Okay. Probably got a couple of bags under my eyes, so I don't, you know what I'm saying, don't want to be on camera right now. But yeah, hey, what you guys got going, man?
All right, well, we just did a draft 2020 recap and grade before. I don't know if you saw that, but we'll address this comment first. Denzel Perryman, would you keep him? For me personally, yeah. I mean, he's been the best linebacker that we've had on our roster for how long now? Still playing that way. I mean, yeah, he has his deficiencies at time, but for me, you know, is there any other linebacker in that conference? The best linebacker we've had for the last decade, almost. Anyone?
You know what? I'm fine either way, and I hate to say that because I think Perriman is he's probably the best linebacker we got on the roster. But, you know, you have to, with Perriman, you have to put him around other linebackers that can really cover. You know what I'm saying? Yep. So that allows Perriman to be the hitter and tackler that we know that he can be. But also with that being said, that's why I say I'm fine with it, because if they can bring in 3 guys that can can cover, then there is really no need to have a Perriman. You know what I'm saying? So it just depends on what direction they want to go in. You know what I'm saying? If Perriman wants to be here and be a team player, also be friendly, friendly with the money, because again, he's not cheap labor. You know, we got to give him some kind of contract. So you have to put coverage around him so that he can be the guy that he wants to be. That's why right now it looks very soaring, you know what I'm saying, with our linebackers, because he's the only guy that's really standing out in our linebacking group. So
for sure,
I'm fine either way.
It's been very disappointing that we haven't had any linebackers that have been able to emerge, especially from the young guys like Divine Diablo. We had high hopes for him, and he's, in my personal opinion, it just hasn't panned out. Especially in coverage, you know, he gets lost time and time again. But he's still got another season next year, unless he gets cut. So we'll see what happens with him. But we need some linebackers. That should be a point of emphasis in free agency and the draft next year. Is some true linebackers to go alongside. If we keep, Perry might not even be on our roster next year, and we're starting afresh all over again at that linebacker core. And it's just something that's been a point of weakness since I've been a fan, since the days of Thomas Howard and Kirk Morrison. Our linebacking core, it always seems to be thin, and it's just something I'm over it. You know what I mean?
No, facts, but that's what we drafted. I mean, that's what we drafted Ronald McClain for, and that ain't work out for us either. You know what I mean? He was a top 10 pick. You know what I mean? He was supposed to be our leader of our defense for years to come. But how did that work out? You know, we cut him.
You know what?
We cut him. Then he goes over there and balls out with the Cowboys and stuff. That really pissed me off. Like, how come you couldn't do that over here with us? But over there with the Cowboys, you're over there balling out and shit.
You know what annoys me about McClain is that, like, the one thing that people tend to share, especially on the IG, is that video of him doing that suplex.
Yeah.
And, like, you know, people are like, oh, Rolando McClain, and they put in the fire emojis. And for me, it's like, do you guys not remember how bad he was outside that one play? I mean, not just how bad he was on the field, but also off the field. The guy was an idiot getting arrested. And he also got into a fight, I believe, with Tommy Kelly at practice. and he ended up walking off the practice field and saying, "I'm not only here for the money." No, he didn't really want to be a Raider. Sure enough, we got rid of his ass, and he's another player like on that short list of players that I despise. Rolando McClain is in there with the likes of Arnett and Antonio Brown and that. So yeah, I hated that guy. Hated him.
No, for real too. I just remember too him reading the wrong like instead of going to the fucking A gap, he goes into the B gap, and then the running back fucking runs for 15 yards or something. Like just a stupid mental mistake.
That.
You know what I mean?
I
just
remember
like
a game in particular where the commentators were doing up like a little segment, and they were like pointing at like they were doing their little highlighter thing and showing arrows like this is McClain, this is where he should be, this is what he should be doing. It's an easy play to make, but he's going this way and just doing nothing. And it's like we're getting gashed for all those yards. Like I have bad memories of McClain. You know what? Less said, the better. We'll move on. Ready to take over? Salute to you. I see you in the chat feed. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Running back are important. Enforcement's come back. Hopefully we can have someone emerge as that reinforcement to be that spellback that we haven't really got outside of maybe Abdullah. You know what I mean? Zamir White still needs to develop, but we'll see. I'm going to go back to this comment here. I believe you're talking about Rock Yassin. Would you keep him? Yeah. No pressure. The bar is low. I would say yes. I mean, he has been doing a pretty decent job as the number one cornerback on our team. I will say that I'm not sold on him being the number one going forward. I do believe he has a spot on our roster and he's done well for us so far. But it would be nice to have a real true number one cornerback, someone of the likes of when we haven't had since Nnamdi Asomugha. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, it'd be nice to have a guy on that outside who could lock down, shut down even a fraction of what he did back in the day. I mean, the best cornerback since him, in my personal opinion, was Casey Hayward. He did a pretty good job, but he was one and done, and he was pretty old by the time we got to him. Do you remember David Amerson? I thought he played pretty well for a while until teams started to figure him out, and he started getting cooked, and he wasn't on our roster for long after that. But again, another position that I hope we can address properly moving forward. But I think there is a spot there for Yassin moving forward. What say you guys?
I'll keep. I want to keep him. He definitely re-signing him this offseason. I want him back.
Yeah, people may not like my view, but I don't think he's a number one for sure. I think he's kind of shown that even this year. I mean, I'm not too. When I look at him and I look at his play, he really just screams out a number two corner for me.
Yeah, agreed. But going back to that Rolando McClain, ready to take over. Salute to you. McClain was actually a good player, but we never had any type of coaching to bring out that talent. That's why players ball at other players, just not us. That could be true to a point, but at the end of the day, I'm not going to relieve him of his poor performances when he was with us, especially taking him in that first round. And the fact that his off the field attitude and discretions was another thing that led me to truly despise him. Yeah, he did some things with the Cowboys, but for me, I don't care. I only look at what you did when you were a Raider, and he was a very, very bad Raider, to say the least. DJ Hayden, yeah, he's another project pick we took round one. Didn't pan out for us. Is he still in the league?
Yeah.
DJ Hayden?
No more. Then wasn't most of he being a project player. He just had that heart condition. You know what I mean? That. So. Yeah. Another one. Alex Martin, salute to you. Thanks for stopping by. Good to see you in the chat feed. First time in here. Hopefully it's not your last. Salute Nation. Right away also brought up Malcolm Kuntz. Now, he's a guy like I've said it a few times. I believe he's not in McDaniel's good graces ever since going back into when we had him in preseason getting chewed out in that video, as well as like when McDaniel's chewed him out for that non-penalty that cost us the game against the Chiefs. So there is also questions about Kuntz's size. I always kind of questioned that when we drafted him, but
I would like to see more out of Kuntz. Like he seems to at least be doing some things when he is on the field. When it comes to pressure and scrambling to make the play on when the running back is running the ball, but the jury is still out on Malcolm Kuntz. Aussie, AR, you know I'm a singer. Yes, I do. You were the loudest in the room when it came to your support with Rock Sin. I say keep him for 2 more years. Extension players play their best ball 3 years into a new system. Well, we'll wait and see with Yasin. He's been doing a good enough job so far. I am with you in bringing him back next year, and hopefully he can continue to be a productive player. But I still believe we need a true number one, so to say. And Hobbs, yeah. Well, sorry, I completely forgot about Nate Hobbs. Nate Hobbs is another name that I'm probably more higher on him than Yasin to be the number one guy. He could possibly develop to be that guy. It's still early days for Nate Hobbs, and he's definitely the best secondary draft pick cornerback in terms of potential that we've had. I've seen more potential out of him than I have out of other players that we've drafted, undrafted free agents, and he has put it together on the field when he's seen the game time. So Nate Hobbs probably is our best hope at that cornerback position, but it's still early days, so to say, with Hobbs. But yeah, I do see a lot. I completely forgot about him. I shouldn't have done, to be honest. Definitely got a lot of potential there.
Ozzy, I mean, you know, Afakasi, I do. If I was playing GM, I would love to be in a position to put Hobbs back in the slot. I know that he plays well on the outside. I know that he has that flexibility, but there was something special about Hobbs when he played the slot for us. You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
when you went back to tape and you know looked at how he played in the slot. If we could get, and just hear me out on this. If we could draft, you know, a corner, a solid corner that we say, you know what, he's the top corner or whatever. Let's put him on number 1, right? Bring Rock Sin back as a number 2. And then have Hobbs in the slot, that would clearly upgrade our secondary. You know what I'm saying? So I would like to see something like that.
And, yeah, I agree. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, they you know, and if they could get that, then I think we could fix a whole lot of issues that we have on our back end just doing that.
Yeah, I agree with all your sentiments, Tuan. I made the comment before the season started that, like, I didn't want, ideally, Hobbs moving away from that nickel cornerback position, being that it seemed like he was thriving in that role. And, you know, I guess he was kind of forced into the outside, being that we were a little thin there. Avanet didn't really pan out for us to be the guy as that number 2. And Yasin's done a decent enough job, but the fact that we still don't really have a true number 1 cornerback. Hobbs still can possibly be that guy, but yeah, I wouldn't be mad at that, putting him back at that nickel spot, a position we'd struggle to be able to get any kind of burn out of, and wide receivers were just taking advantage of that for years up until Hobbs came into the league for us in his rookie season. However, just a little bit of objectivity. I personally believe Amik Robertson has given us at least enough, you know, production as that nickel guy so far this year. So, you know, has he given enough to be the guy moving forward and keep Nate Hobbs on the outside? I don't know. Time will tell. But, you know, Nate Hobbs definitely thrived in that nickel spot. And if we put him back there, I wouldn't be mad. Auntie.
No, I wouldn't be mad either. You know what I mean? I love the idea that Tuan had, you know, but the thing is, I don't want to draft a cornerback with one of our first, like, 2-3 draft picks. I think we have other pressing needs. But if we're able to go to free agency and, like, sign a cornerback, you know what I mean, to fill that number 1 corner role, you know what I mean, that would be a dream scenario because Rock is the number 2 corner, and then put Hobbs back in that slot, you know what I mean? That will be a dream scenario. But, you know what I mean, it's going to be interesting offseason. I'm really interested to see what's going to happen.
For sure. And I don't know about the draft class when it comes to secondary, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess. Gravy, salute to you. Good to see you in the chat feed. I'm going to drop the link there if you want to pull up, and anyone else. Let me see. James Furpo, why do we reach out so far that we got rotten apples? Maybe if we go for some hanging a bit lower that you can see may make us a better team. Yeah, like Nate Hobbs is a prime example. Where do we get him? We got him out of nowhere in the 5th round. Nobody was talking about him, and he's turned out to be probably the best cornerback prospect that we've had in my time as a Raider fan. So, yeah, there is that.
Yeah, and the thing is with
sorry.
No, I'm saying with Nate Hobbs, I think a lot with him was his college coach was Lovie Smith, and he develops defensive players, and he had an eye for Hobbs. He knew he could make the NFL. So, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
he's the one that put a surprise. Yeah.
You did say to keep Hobbs in the slot. We talked a lot how cornerback was an Achilles heel for years. Yeah, we did. But yeah, look, Hobbs has been doing a decent enough job on the outside. Sometimes he does. I noticed he has been getting a little burned at times, but I never noticed that at that nickel spot. But it's still, there's great potential in Hobbs to be the guy. But we'll see how things pan out moving forward.
And Afakasi, you were talking about Amik Robinson, and I was one of the ones that was, when we were talking about who was going to be on the 53, I was pushing for Amik to make the roster, and I think also, yeah, I think also with that, I think it's the same situation. You know what I'm saying? I said, when we first talked about Amik, I think if we were trying to make a complete roster, I think Amik makes that last and final spot on our roster. You know what I'm saying? And if I'm saying that means that we have a lot of depth. And that's a good situation to have. You know what I'm saying? If you could have corners to where Amik's just coming in maybe 1 or 2 plays just to, get his job done and then go back out or whatever the situation may be. And just think about that, having Amik Robinson back up, you know what I'm saying, Nate Hobbs in the slot. Then that means we ain't got to worry about slot for, you know what I'm saying, for a while, you know what I'm saying? So there's definitely options there, but I still, even with me talking about the 3 corners, I still believe in Amik Robinson, you know what I'm saying, but as depth.
Yeah, I guess, the ideal scenario would be a lockdown cornerback at CB1. That's probably not on our roster yet. Yasin, number 2, be that other outside guy. I think he's done a good enough job to remain on our roster moving into next season. And Nate Hobbs back in that nickel corner position where he thrives. That, for me, would be the ideal scenario. Actually, more ideal than that would be Nate Hobbs balls out at that number 1 role and makes that his own and lives up to the potential that we've seen so far. But, those would be my ideal scenarios, I guess, so to say. And Debo, appreciate your comment. Now that I think about it, I think I do remember seeing your name a long while ago, but it's good to see you back and being able to be active in the chat feed. Very much appreciated. And everyone else who's come into the chat feed and shown your support, it definitely hasn't gone unnoticed, and I'm very much grateful for it. So, yeah, there is that. Let me see here. Marcus Peters is a free agent this year. Would you sign him? I know he's a name. I haven't really been paying much attention to how he's been doing this year, but if he can live up to the name, and if we brought him in, then fantastic.
He's a name, and at this point, I hate to say it, but I think he's more. I wouldn't consider him to be a number 1 receiver. Corner. You know what I'm saying? I don't think he would be a number 1 corner. So, that would, now you'll be in a situation where you have 2 number 2s as your starters, you know what I'm saying, with Hobbs in the slot. So, you can run it, you know what I'm saying? You can, try to match them up or whatever, but if you're really trying to go for that number 1, you know what I'm saying, that really number 1 corner, yeah, I don't think it's Peters. As much as I like Peters, I really do like him as a corner, but I don't like him as being our number one corner.
I guess for me, and this is going back a while, but the bar that is set for me to be a true number one is Nnamdi Asomugha. You know what I'm saying? And it just sucks that we haven't got a player that was even 75% of that number one shutdown, lockdown cornerback that we've had when we had with him. Hayward was pretty nice when he was with us. Nate Hobbs has all the potential in the world, but we're still yet to get a player of the fraction that he was. So hopefully that can change sooner rather than later in the years coming.
And then also, you know, with a Marcus Peters, that means you're paying money. You know what I'm saying? And you know, I rather you guys know my saying, cheap labor. I rather go with a rookie. And you know, even if we mark them to be a number one, but they don't end up being a number one, but end up being a number two or number three. You know what I'm saying? We're not spending a whole lot of money for a number two or number three. You know what I'm saying? And that person may be you know, because it's a rookie, they may start off and be a number two, but then eventually they, you know, their game improves to be a number one. So you have that flexibility, but with someone that you're bringing in, pretty much what they are is what they are. And in most cases, they're not on the incline, but they're on the decline. You know what I'm saying? They're slowly getting, you know, they're being a shell of who they are. And we just saw that today with Julio Jones. Julio Jones is a shell of who he was. You know what I'm saying? And even with what people would say is one of the best quarterbacks in this league. You know what I'm saying? Julio Jones is still a shell of who he used to be.
Yeah, and I guess it goes back to that comment by Aussie. Salute to you. How old is Peters now? So he's 29. So coming up to 30 in the next year, is he really going to get better from there? Or has he already reached his prime? Probably.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But just going back to that comment by Gravy, Amik has his downs. He's a dog in the secondary as far as tackling and big plays. Yeah, absolutely. He's definitely made a believer out of me, as I said, and has proven to be a pleasant surprise. And I shouldn't, when I said what I said about like number one, number two, Yasin and Nate Hobbs, exempt him from being a part of our defense moving forward. Like, you know, him being either that, if he can solidify that nickel spot instead of having to move Hobbs back there, or just be what he is at the moment, a guy who plays his role good enough. So yeah, Amik, I think there is a future moving forward, or him being part of our team moving forward. But this is his third year. Is he still under contract, rookie contract next year?
It's his third year.
I think this might be his final year, you know, his rookie contract.
Because he's a fourth rounder, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
When you're a fourth rounder, I think you're going to get a 3-year deal, and this should be his last year of his rookie deal.
Yeah. Meek is decent for depth, and he's a good dude. Great locker room guy. I would keep him as a fourth, fifth. Yeah, absolutely. Aussie. Personally, I don't want any free agents 30 or over, to be honest. Too much of a chance, another name rather than an actual star. Yeah, absolutely. Like, you know, I've actually debated this a few times with the Aussie when, you know, you brought up like players that you want to bring on our roster, and I kind of question, it's like, look at his age. Like, do we really want to bring a guy in like at the tail end of his career? I mean, late 20s, early 30s, it's not the ideal scenario. I mean, look at Chandler Jones. I mean, he's been in the year. He's had a very productive career over time, but this is what, his 11th, 12th season in the league. I mean, that's when players usually, even a season before that, start to really decline. And yeah, he was productive against the Chargers. And I don't know, did he play okay against the Rams? I didn't really notice him too much, but you know, as a whole, it's been disappointing, the production we've got out of him. And I put that a lot towards like he's just possibly over the hill, so to say. You know what I mean?
You talking about Chandler Jones, his performance in the Rams?
Yeah.
I think Chandler Jones played well in the Rams. I mean, it's not like he was like, you know, going sack crazy or anything like that, but he was being effective, you know what I'm saying, with his rushes, bringing pressure to, you know, pressure to the quarterback, but, you know, secondary, I'll just say it like that.
Yeah. We need more veterans on that defense. Look at Deron Harmon. Dude is ball. Yeah, well, Deron Harmon, he's doing his part, and he's been another pleasant surprise that he's been able to at least provide some stability at that safety position. Trayvon Morrig's actually been doing better the last couple of weeks. But yeah, look, as a whole, like when we sign these players 29, 30, 30 plus, it's just, you know, it's really at the tail end. I really don't want to be giving players like that the bag, so to say.
And the thing is, when you sign players that are 29, 30 years old, you probably get one good year out of them. You know what I mean? If they don't get hurt. So that, you know what? It's just like putting on the Band-Aid on the cut. You know what I mean? It's just there for a while, but ain't really gonna do shit because you're still gonna have that need for that position. You know what I mean? That's why I'm tired of getting these. You know what I mean? These temporary fixes. I want permanent fixes for these problems that we continue having year after year after year after year.
And there's certain positions even within football that, you know, this is a loophole. You know what I'm saying? You can have an older guy, you know what I'm saying, play. You know what I'm saying? You can have an older guy on your offensive line. You know what I'm saying? He's a savvy vet. You know what I'm saying? Especially, it just has to, in that situation, you're just kind of looking at, okay, what was his history of injury, you know what I'm saying? And if he has a clean, you know, or fairly clean, you know, injury, then yeah, okay, maybe you could bring him in. But, you know, there's certain things that digress. Your wide receivers digress with age. Your corners, they digress with age. Linebackers are definitely that. And that's why you see old linebackers, the first thing that goes in their skills is their coverage. And that's why you see these old linebackers, you know what I'm saying?
Wright.
They could do a stop the run.
KJ Wright was a good example. We signed him. He was actually a heralded signing last year when we got him. And it was very disappointing. It was just he still had the football IQ, so to say, but the legs, he just didn't have it anymore. You know what I mean? Once the players got behind him, it was a wrap, especially in coverage. I noticed when he was asked to cover a running back, once the running back caught the ball, he was off to the races a few times. And, you know, there is, like you said, Twan, there are some positions where it's not so much of a hindrance with age as much as it would be at other spots. But when you really need that speed to be able to keep up with the speed of the game, positions like cornerback, positions like wide receiver, running back, even linebacker, you know, when you get into those late 20s, early 30s, at tight end, like it's, you know, age definitely comes into play, and you know, Father Time catches up, and you get to a point where you're just not able to keep up. You know, your mindset and your football IQ is still there, and maybe even your heart, but like the body and being able to keep up with the speed of the game, it just ain't. So.
And I'll say this too. I'll even take an old, just giving another position of old, outside of kicker and special teams. I'll take an old safety. You know what I'm saying? Because old safety, you know, a lot of the times, you know, especially if they're playing, you know, free safety, all they got to do is make sure nothing gets behind them. You know what I'm saying? So that's just making sure they get, you know what I'm saying? They move and stuff like that. We seen that with, you know, like Charles Woodson moving to safety. You know, he was old, but he knew, okay, I need to get this amount of yard, you know, back up enough. And he was always around the play. It was, you know, and you can, and that's why I think Harmon is producing even at his age, because he knows where he needs to be at, you know what I'm saying, just because of his mental capacity. So he's getting to those spots and he's making the plays.
For sure. Captain Jack, good to see you in the feed. I'm going to leave you the stream out link if you want to pull up. Yeah, those are definitely good examples of cornerbacks. I mean, Charles Woodson was originally a cornerback, but in his later years transitioned over to safety and was still able to do that in the elite level up until he was no longer in the league and he retired. But on the flip side of that, you got guys like Reggie Nelson, who in the later part of his career, like the lack of speed and that, like, definitely caught up with him, and he wasn't the player he once was, and it just costed us more times than not in the later years as a Raider. Before I move any further, got a guest backstage. I think it's the first time he's on my stream specifically. One of the OGs of the game and someone who definitely commands a lot of respect. Please welcome Captain Jack. What's going on, man?
I made it. I saw it. I said, Afakasi has a show, and I see it. So I am no longer a that has never been on your show. I'm golden. I'm going. I don't have to say another word. See ya. No, I'm not even going to do that.
That's all, folks.
That's good, Captain Jack. Thank you for gracing us with your presence. Finally,
ladies and gentlemen, Jack has left the building.
Yeah, I mean,
don't say that.
I will say it's going to be short because I really do got to go to bed. And I was just on here, and I saw that you were on. I said I'm going to hit it because, again, I would be remiss because I've never seen it where I was on. Like I said, I've already hit up Ozzy. And now I've hit the was it not a trifecta? What's two of them when you place a bet? There's a name for it, right? I don't know. I don't bet. It's whatever a double is. But anyway, how are you doing tonight? What are we talking about tonight? I'm here to support my shipmate. Good to see Ont6. Going to see Twan. I'm glad that I'm on here with everybody. Thanks again. The Raider Wave was popped in. And I'm feeling good. I'm tired as fuck, but I'm here. What are we talking about? And I saw it was like the draft class. And what is the worst draft class in your estimation?
All right. First things first. Appreciate you stopping by and gracing us with your presence. Salute to you. I am going to go back to what the live topic originally was, and I'll bring it back up in a second because I didn't get Twan's 2 cents on either. If I can get both of you guys' opinions, and then if you need to go, that's fine. I understand. Salute to you for popping up. Appreciate it. Going to bring it up here. So this was the 2020 draft class. Now, we did this revisit and grading it out since we just released Josh Simpson, and it's been almost 3 years, and the last man standing is Amit Robertson. I don't know. Can you see that?
I can see I can see like grades and people and stuff. I can't see who the people are, but I can see that.
So I'll just go through it real quickly. So we gave Amit Robertson, and this is just grading out how the careers pan out as a Raider specifically, and the value that they gave for us now that's been 3 seasons deep. Amit Robertson, we gave a B-, being he was picked in the fourth round, and he's still on our roster and producing. Brian Edwards, we gave him a generous C for the contributions he made. I mean, it was disappointing. We only got 2 seasons out of him, but he showed flashes, but inconsistently. So we decided to put him there. D+, Henry Ruggs, for obvious reasons we don't need to say anymore. Josh Simpson, not really turning out to be anything more, but a guy who could come in and try and plug and play. Didn't pan out last week when he came in against the Rams, but he was able to maintain a roster spot up until then. Our UDFA class, being that we only got really, if we could even call it burn, out of Javin White, Nick Bowers, and down the bottom here, these names, these fellows, Damon Arnett, Lynn Bowden, and Tanner Mears. So as a whole, I'll go with you, Captain Jack. Well, how do you feel about that draft class now that it's been almost 3 seasons? And
I agree with the F. So actually, if there was a Z grade on Arnett, I would give that. Has somebody said that already?
Yeah. It was actually someone in the chat feed, but yeah, I think we all agree if it could be a Z grade, he would be there. Absolutely.
I didn't see it, so you can't say I copied it. So that is off my head. So that's that. I wasn't copying whoever said that. I think Tanner Muse is. It's unfortunate that he's an F. It's just that I think that he was. Bowden, basically the same thing. Bowden would have fit with somebody else if he wasn't a flaming rectal hemorrhoid in his thought process. Muse, I think, was misused. So yeah, he is an F because of just the way he was misused. Simpson, I would have put Simpson down there. I would have dropped him to an F because he he was a hanger-on and didn't contribute pretty much at all. And I'm going to say, I'm going to be kind for Henry Ruggs. I wouldn't give him a D+. I would give him an incomplete. And the reason why I say that was because he was performing at a B+ to A- level. He was performing at an A+ to B+ level, and then circumstances came in which gave him an incomplete. And again, I'm not a Henry Ruggs fan, but I'm just saying I think that giving him a D+ is kind of harsh. I mean, life came out against him, and he made a critical mental screw up. But that, I mean, yeah, it was his fault. But I mean, as far as his capabilities, I think D+ is harsh. I actually, if you're going to go, if you can't do it, put an incomplete, I would say he was a B, because the time we had with him, he did all the things that we asked of him. He was an ascending receiver, and if you take the time that we had, I would give him a B.
I'm going to give you some objectivity to that, Captain Jack, and I appreciate and respect your takes. For me personally, I have to put him here. Yeah, you're right. His abilities on the field, we were showing out and proving to be the guy, the speeds that we've been coveting for so long. But for me, the grading system is also the value we got in the end out of that pick, and the fact that we picked him at round 1, and after 1.5 seasons, he's no longer with us due to circumstances, despite how he was performing on the field. For me personally, it's got to go down there as a major disappointment. Yeah, he was producing and he was looking good when he was a Raider, but to only get 1.5 seasons out of a round 1 pick, yeah, you know, I see your points in regards to incomplete, but for me personally, it's a full stop on his career. Looks like it, so to say. I don't know if he's ever going to be able to come back, and it has to be there in my opinion. D+, but that's just how I feel, and that's why I put him in that spot, being that that's the production we got out of him in his time as a Raider, and the fact that, yeah, like I said, 1.5 years out of a round 1 draft pick, that's just not good enough, whatever reason may be, and has to be there.
Okay,
I mean, takes, Kevin?
I understand that. I don't agree, but I understand.
Right. And salute to you. Any other thoughts on these other guys, Edwards and Robertson?
Edwards, I thought was I had high hopes for him. You gave him a C. I think that that's about right, because he just did not. Actually, I'd say it's a little high, maybe a C-, because he was.
Yeah, we had him teetering here, between the two.
I had a lot of expectations for him out of South Carolina, and I just think that he did not live up to any of it. And C- for sure. It's unfortunate is that this was supposed to be the blockbuster draft that what's his nose from ESPN was Mayock. Thank you. What was supposed to be incredibly, oh yeah, this is the draft. Well, you know what? No, and that is why I really think that, and I know this is kind of a segue into another subject, and I'll say this and shut up and get out because I do need to go to bed. But lots of respect. I think that the big thing is what is McDaniel and Ziegler, what are they going to do about this class? This is going to be the class that needs to be accounted for, and we're seeing if I'm keeping folks surprised. The Dolphins were going for an onside kick, and the friggin' garglers got it, so the game is over, in all intents and purposes. But yeah, this draft class upcoming, this is going to be the make or break as far as how long Ziegler and McDaniels get, because I mean, with the destruction of this team, that they had a playoff team. Now, granted, like I said, they were 7-2 in 1-score games last year. Now we are like 2-7, 2-8. in 1-score games this year. Flip it on what we have. All our losses have been by, other than the debacle in New Orleans. I believe all of our losses have been by 1 score, and that just means that incredibly harsh. Flip this, flip that, and things are different. Yeah, Edwards didn't pan out with us. He was cut by whoever picked him up this year. Abram was cut by the Packers within whoever cut. So at least we're consistent in the fact that
He's now on the Chiefs roster.
Guys. Yeah, we're finally getting rid of guys, and he's on the Seahawks now, I think. But we're finally getting rid.
He's a Chief.
Oh, he went to the Chiefs now?
Yes,
No.
he's a Chief.
Oh, yeah. So Edwards is a Chief.
Oh, Edwards. Okay, yeah. I was gonna say Abrams was a Seahawk. I think Edwards is gonna. I don't think it's gonna last in Kansas City. I think that was basically to get intel on us for the last game.
Yeah. No, I agree. Appreciate you stopping by, Captain Jack. And just to go back to this comment here, we did by giving out a final grade for that draft class. I gave it. What did I give it? I think I gave it a very generous D, being that Amik Robinson's still around and Brian Edwards gave some production. Bear in mind he was inconsistent and why he was no longer on our roster after this year. And Josh Simpson was able to hang around, so to say. But yeah, that grade goes towards the coaching staff and the management team at the time who drafted them. Before you go, Captain Jack, salute to you. Appreciate you stopping by. What's your final grade from that draft class?
For this draft class, yeah, you said you were gave it a Delta.
I gave it a D. Ont6, what was yours?
I gave it a Delta negative.
Yeah. What say you, Captain Jack?
I can agree with that. I agree with both of them. Delta, not quite negative, but I'd give it a Delta overall.
Yeah, for sure. All right, Captain Jack. Appreciate you stopping by. Thanks for finally gracing us with your presence in that. I'm going to give you the floor. Can you share your link and where we can find you? Give me Mo. I'm just going to pull you up.
Me? Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, you.
If you want to go to Twitter, although I don't tweet as much as I should, it's Captain Jack Rackham there. If you are an IG user, look at this right here and put dots in between the spaces, Captain Dot Jack Dot Rack, and put a dot where that is.
I got
and
you.
That's my IG. And Afakasi, thank you there, sir. That is my YouTube, Captain Jack Rackham Levy. And if you can't find me, then you definitively are more inept than you shouldn't be here. If I can do this and I can find me and you can't, get your kid to find me, okay? The kids will.
For sure. All right, Captain Jack, salute to you. Thanks for popping by, and we'll catch you on the flip side, and I'll come to your live next time you do one.
I appreciate you. I appreciate getting the chance to be here because again, I've been spoiling to do this. I really have, and I appreciate y'all letting the old bastard. I won't even say the F word. The old bastard in for a show because people say I drop too many F-bombs on other people's show. It's because I'm pent up. And I can't drop it on mine, so that's why. But I just said
okay. We're an unfiltered show here, so
I just said.
Now Roku TV here.
Yeah.
Okay,
and agree with the comment. Goes up to the captain for sure. All right, salute, shipmate. You take care, brother, and we'll see you next time. God bless.
All right, thanks, guys. Take care. Have a good week.
For sure.
Just one baby.
Take care. D Menace, salute to you. I see you in the building. Thanks for dropping by. Let's get back to Raider Twan. What say you? We never really got your thoughts.
Yeah, I'm glad Captain Jack went there, and I know that you guys had that discourse and when it comes to the rug situation, I'm in agreement with everything that you have on here, and where they are. I think they're fairly where I would put them. But for rugs, for me, it's kind of tough because I don't know where I would put him. You know what I'm saying? And it's just like Captain Jack said, his performance would be a B, but the downfall of what has happened, you can even, and I'll say this, you can even put it at a F. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
To be honest with you, you know what I'm saying. So that one, if you would ask me specifically where I would put Ruggs, I couldn't call it. You know what I'm saying? And you know me, and most people know me on these channels. Usually I know I have a place where I can put somebody, but for Ruggs, I have no place for him. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, before you move, I think like in regards to what you said, like from a production perspective, he would be up here in that B range at the very least. But the fact that what happened, and that we only got 1.5 seasons out of him, it would have him down here. But the few seasons we had, the having him for 1.5 years and him producing in that particular time frame, it was enough to bump him here, despite it being a disaster in the end for where we pick him. But yeah, that's just my take. Go ahead, Twan. Keep going.
Yeah, and just no, that's about it. But I'm gonna say this, as a segue to this whole discussion, is this specific, and we're just talking about one draft, but this is an indicator of what we've been doing, I would say, for the last 20 years. You know what I'm saying? And maybe even longer than that. You know what I'm saying? But this is the indicator of how we've been drafting. You know what I'm saying? And this is not, and I say this again, this is not the path to success. You know what I'm saying? You build a team through the draft. And if we've been, and if all we are getting from every year is Amik Robertson as a B, and everybody else is you know what I'm saying, the majority is a D and an F, that's not success.
Unacceptable.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to be very, and I'm kind of happy that we have this regime, because I think, just based off the past draft, I kind of like where they went and how those guys are panning out, even though they, you know what I'm saying, they started, with the third round and didn't get a first and second round. You know what I'm saying? But we got to do a whole lot better if we're planning to really have some. Yeah, we can win the Super Bowl. Yeah, we can do that this year and maybe next year. But to have a dynasty or to have some longevity where we're always in the postseason, it's the draft, baby. You know what I'm saying? And we got to do way better than what we're seeing on this screen right now with these guys.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, this draft class was a disaster, and I agree with everything you said. And Raider 7528, salute to you. Nice to see you in the feed, as well as all eyes on G. Good to see you guys up in the building. But yeah, that's a good comment there. Albert Einstein, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. Absolutely. We need to be doing better, particularly in that first round. I mean, just to provide some objectivity, like the 2019 draft class and the 2021, outside of the disasters in the first round, have actually been okay for the most part. We've gotten guys like Crosby, Waller, Hobbs, Morrig. The jury's still out on him, but we have been able to draft guys that have given us, have been able to be a role contributor or even a starter, so to say, and even star players. I'm looking at Max Crosby, I'm looking at Renfro in that 2019 class. So we haven't been completely disastrous in the draft in the last 3 years, so to say, but just those first round picks where we're flaming out very badly, outside of maybe Jacobs and Colton Miller in 2018. It needs to be better, and hopefully come next year when Ziegler has a full draft class and then some, we've got a bounty of picks, it can be better. But yes, Jolie, salute to you. Thanks for stopping by. Before we go, Twan, appreciate your takes. Final grade, what would you give the class as a whole?
Man, I'm looking. There's 3 people at F. You know what I'm saying? There's how many at D? 4?
3.
3?
three. So we put Henry Ruggs and Simpson in that D tier, but I gave out a grading for the undrafted free agent class as a whole, and the fact that we only really got, if you can call it that, contributions out of Javin White, Nick Bowers, and the rest of them were gone. We decided to put them there. I mean, just to give you some perspective, that's as opposed to the 2019 class when we got undrafted free agents like Alec Ingold, Andre James, Keyshawn Nixon. Fair enough, he's not on our roster anymore, but he still contributed. Lester Cotton, AJ Cole. Am I missing anyone? I mean, that's a whole bunch of names. So, I mean, if you were to grade that class, that would almost get an A.
So,
you know what I mean?
I'll try to do this as fair as possible. I'm trying to do this like high school. If I get a B and I put it next to an F, that equates to a D. You know what I'm saying? And if I got a whole bunch of D's and I got a C minus, I think my average is still a D.
So your final draft grade, Tuan,
is a D. It's a
D. No D plus, D minus, just a D.
Yeah, I'm at a D.
You're a lot nicer than me, Tuan, because I see a D minus. I said D minus.
Yeah, I think I gave it a D, a flat D. Almost teetering on an F if it wasn't for the fact that Amik Robertson was able to save this draft class from being an even more disastrous one than it has been proven to be. And Brian Edwards, he didn't pan out to be the number 2 guy for the long haul, but when he was with us, he was very inconsistent, but he did do some things enough for him to warrant being there, being that we got him in round 3. So that's my takes on that.
And he was still trotted out as a starter. You know what I'm saying? For a bit too. So that, I agree with him being the C grade, definitely.
For sure. All right, Tuan, well, look, we'll wrap it up on that front. Appreciate you stopping by. Always good to chop it up with you and Captain Jack for stopping by too. We'll probably get together again on the weekend. I mean, it's still, for me personally, a little bit too far out from that Patriots game to really give my perspectives. I mean, the roster's going to shake up in terms of our injury report and that. We're still a week away. You got any final thoughts or any final takes you want to share with us, Raider Tuan?
Man, thank you, Afakasi. You know, I got love for you, man. Appreciate all that you do for the nation and the effort and time you put in. Ont6, you know, I got love for you, man. Thanks for, you know, again, showing love and reaching out and doing all that you do. I'm just optimistic for us moving forward. Even this season, I'm still looking for this team to, you know, rally together, get some camaraderie, figure out who needs to be here and who doesn't need to be here. You know what I'm saying? And then, you know, at when it's time, let's go ahead and get those groceries. You know what I'm saying? Definitely. And you guys know how to reach out to me. Hit me up on IG at Tuan TWUAN, and then Raider Tuan if you like any of the content that I put on other people's channels. Just show me some love over at Raider Tuan on YouTube.
For sure. Appreciate you stopping by, Tuan. For those who haven't, here's his channel down below. I'm just going to share it in the chat feed. So you guys know what to do. If you haven't already, please go subscribe and show Tuan the same love and support that you give to us. So, Tuan, been a pleasure. Always a pleasure. You take care, brother, and we'll chop it up again soon. For sure.
All right, blessings.
That's a good one.
All right, Ont6, you got any final thoughts before we wrap things up?
Just win, baby. Beat the Patriots. Raiders! Let's fucking go. I'm out, Afakasi. Never going, brother.
For sure. All right, thanks for being able to do this with us, Ont6. Always a pleasure. And, you know, we'll chop it up again close to the end of the week when we get closer to that Patriots game. All right. Thanks to everyone for joining in. Whether you came on the panel, salute to Captain Jack, Tuan, Ont6. Raider Joe, you get a salute to. He's got a few things going on in his personal life, but you know, we will get together on the next live for sure if things situate in that. Everyone in the chat who stopped by and was able to join us, doing something different today rather than just harping on about the Rams game and talking about the Patriots game, which is still a week away. I thought I'd do something a little bit different, being that we just released Josh Simpson, and going back and looking at that disastrous 2020 draft class via the tier list and that. So everyone who was able to participate and join in and share your 2 cents, very much appreciated. You know, I hate to be that guy, but you know, if you could tap that like button on your way out, that'd be most appreciated. It helps get me out there a little bit more, so to say. So if you haven't done already, that would be most gratifying on my part. But is that even a word? I don't know. But look, until next time, you know what time it is. Raider Nation for life. Win, lose, or tie, as always, it's Raider Nation till I fucking die. All right, peace, chat. I'll catch you on the flip side, and the next time we do this thing, for sure. Until then, take care.